You deleted the messages. You tried to move on. You told yourself if it was meant to be, it would have happened. But months passed, maybe even years, and they're still there, tucked away in your heart. Not as a fantasy, not as an obsession, but as a name that slips into your prayers, a softness that never left. And now you're wondering, am I just emotionally weak? Is this nostalgia? Or is Allah trying to show me something I haven't understood yet? Because maybe this isn't supposed to disappear. Not yet. You tried to let them go. You even convinced yourself you were fine. Until that dream came out of nowhere. That sudden memory. That quiet moment during ṣalāh when their name drifted back into your chest. No warning, no reason, just there. And it's not like you're messaging them. You're not doing anything haram. You're not scrolling through their page. You're not obsessing. But their name still shows up when your hands rise in du'a. Like it's the only place your heart breathes freely. And now you're stuck in that gray space nobody talks about. The one where it's not toxic, but it's not moving forward either. Where it's not sinful, but it's not peaceful. The space where you keep asking Allah, what do I do with this? Because the pain isn't in holding on. It's in not knowing why you still are. And if that's you, if you've been carrying someone in your chest far longer than makes sense, maybe the question isn't, why haven't I moved on? Maybe the real question is, what if Allah hasn't closed this chapter yet? This isn't about chasing someone. This isn't about false hope or romanticizing heartbreak. It's about the signs, quiet ones, soul-deep ones, the kind Allah writes into your life when something isn't meant to vanish but to transform. Let's talk about those signs, the ones that whisper, maybe, just maybe, Allah doesn't want you to move on yet. Not because it's easy, but because something here isn't finished. Sign 1. You tried to move on, but peace never came. You did everything they say to do. You deleted the photos. You muted their name. You even tried talking to someone new, hoping distraction would do what du'a didn't. But no matter how many times you told yourself, it's done, I'm done, it never felt done. And that's the strange part. You weren't trying to hold on. You were begging Allah to let you release it. You wanted closure, you wanted peace. But all you got was silence, not peace, just emptiness. You'd be okay for a while until something small, a voice, a scent, a random ayah, split your chest wide open again. And suddenly, everything was back. Not in a desperate, frantic way, just a calm, quiet ache saying, I'm still here. And that's when the confusion sets in. Because heartbreak usually looks messy, tears, chaos, longing. But this is stillness. You're not crying anymore, but you're also not healed. You're not waiting for a text, but their name still lingers in your du'a. You don't miss the drama. You don't even want them to chase you. You just want to understand why your soul hasn't caught up with your mind. Maybe that's because what you were trying to bury wasn't meant to die. Not yet. Maybe what you called moving on, Allah called pause. Because when a connection is meant to shape you, it doesn't vanish with time. It leaves only when the work is complete, when the lesson is finished, when the season ends. And if you still feel it, not as lust, not as fantasy, but as a steady longing that doesn't shout but quietly stays, that's not a sin. That's a sign. Not every delay is rejection. Not every silence is a no. Sometimes, when Allah wants to grow you through someone, He doesn't erase them. He just holds the story until you're both ready to end it the right way. And if that's where you are now, don't feel ashamed for caring. You weren't weak. You moved on with your hands, but your soul stayed where Allah wanted it to wait. Sign 2. Their name keeps showing up in your du'a without you forcing it. You weren't even thinking of them. You raised your hands, and suddenly, their name slipped in. Not loud, not desperate. Just there, resting between your tongue and your heart like it belonged there all along. And the strange part? You didn't plan it. You didn't say, Ya Allah, bring them back. You were praying for your career, your deen, your peace. But somehow, your soul kept tucking their name into every request, like it believed they were part of all three. That's when it got uncomfortable. Because you thought this was over. You made du'a months ago to move on, and you meant it. You weren't trying to reopen anything. You just wanted closure. But why does their name still sit inside your chest, even after you buried what was? This isn't obsession. You're not daydreaming all day. You're not romanticizing what was. This is different. Quieter. Like a thread that never snapped because Allah didn't let it. Maybe when you made that du'a back then, it wasn't about them. It was about you becoming ready. Because here's the thing. The heart doesn't lie in sujood. It doesn't fantasize when your forehead is on the ground. And if their name keeps returning in the moments you're closest to Allah, that means something. Not everything, but something. You're not desperate. You're not chasing. You're just haunted by a prayer you didn't intend to repeat, but somehow it keeps repeating itself. And here's what most people miss. If you didn't plant that thought, and it keeps circling back when your soul is pure, what if that's not a trap? What if it's guidance disguised as longing? Not the kind that drags you into haram, but the kind that whispers, wait. Because sometimes Allah delays, not to deny you, but to protect you. Sign 3. If it was just lust, you'd be over it by now. You know how cravings work? You want something badly for weeks, then you finally taste it, and 2 hours later, you're over it? That's lust. It burns fast, then dies. But this doesn't burn. It lingers. You've gone months without a single word. No texts, no calls. Maybe they've moved on. Maybe you did too. But they still live quietly inside your chest, not as fantasy, but as unfinished peace. That's the difference. Lust lives in the body. This lives in the du'a. Lust says, I want it now. This says nothing at all. Just waits. Just stays. And strangely, it doesn't distract you. It focuses you. Because you're not chasing them anymore. You're chasing the version of you who could love like that the right way. And maybe that's why it hasn't faded. Because this was never just attraction. It was transformation. It wasn't about chemistry. It was about accountability. They didn't complete you. They convicted you. You saw your flaws around them. You saw what your deen needed. You didn't feel perfect with them. You felt called higher. And maybe that's why it hurts. Because the ache is tied to the version of you you're still becoming. This was never about them. Not really. It was about the you that only existed when they were around. And maybe, just maybe, Allah isn't letting you forget, not to break you, but to build you into someone who can finally deserve a love that doesn't pull you down, but lifts you closer to Him. Sign 4. Every time you try to let go, something pulls you back. You told yourself it's over. You meant it this time. You deleted their number, hid the old photos, even blocked their account. You raised your hands and made a heartfelt du'a, asking Allah to remove them from your heart. But then, out of nowhere, a khutbah touches on patience in love. A random TikTok ends with a name you once whispered every night in your prayers. Your dreams, empty for weeks, suddenly bring back the same face you worked so hard to forget. And the hardest part? It doesn't feel random. These moments keep showing up, soft echoes, like reminders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not pushing you toward them, but not letting you fully walk away either. And that's what's confusing. You're not chasing fantasy anymore. You're not even asking to end up with them. All you want is peace. But peace isn't coming. Instead, signs keep showing up. So now you're wondering, is this my mind playing tricks? Is Shaitan pulling strings? Or is Allah saying, not now, but not never? Because some people aren't sent to stay. They're sent to wake you up, to pull your heart out of autopilot, to show you how deeply you can care, to expose where your iman cracks under pressure and where it can be rebuilt stronger. Maybe that's why the signs keep returning, not to hurt you, but to shape you. Not to trap you in circles, but to see if you'll step forward with purpose, better boundaries, clearer vision, a clean heart. Because if we're honest, if this were just from Shaitan, it would feel tempting, indulgent. But this feels different. It's not seductive, it's sobering. And if something keeps pulling you back whenever you try to let go, don't just ask, why them? Ask, what is Allah still teaching me through this? Sign 5. Waiting has brought you closer to Allah. You thought this delay would break you, but without realizing it, it's been fixing you in places you didn't know were cracked. You wait for Tahajjud now, not because you're begging for them back, but because your heart finally knows who to turn to when life feels heavy. You've learned to make du'a while rinsing dishes, to talk to Allah in your own words, not just memorized ones. You've cried without expecting a reply from anyone but Him. And somehow, all this waiting, the unanswered questions, the silence, the ache that never fully fades, became the reason you started remembering Allah more. You stopped asking, why hasn't Allah removed them from my heart? And started asking, what is Allah planting inside it instead? Because sometimes the waiting isn't for them. It's for the version of you who can handle what's written. Maybe that person wasn't you months ago. Maybe you weren't ready to love without attachment, to care without control, to want someone without making them your qibla. And that's the beauty of it. This heartbreak that began with longing now feels like a secret door to iman. The more you lose control of the outcome, the more you surrender to the one who always had it. And that surrender? That's not weakness. That's where real love begins. Not just for another person, but for Allah. And this doesn't mean this person is your future. It means you're becoming the kind of soul ready for what Allah has written, whatever that is. So maybe the reason you can't move on isn't weakness. It isn't obsession. It isn't desperation. Maybe it's because Allah still has a lesson unfolding through the pause. Maybe this isn't an ending, or even a middle. Maybe this is a sacred pause, a place where your heart finally meets your iman. Because here's what no one tells you. Not every delay is a no. Sometimes Allah pauses the story to prepare the characters. And if you feel stuck in that pause, not moving on, but not moving forward, maybe that's not punishment. Maybe it's protection. The Prophet said, "Know that what has reached you was never meant to miss you, and what missed you was never meant to reach you." And he also said, "Whoever relies on Allah, Allah will never let them down." So stop writing tragedies in your head. Stop panicking about what you can't control. If Allah is keeping someone on your heart while pulling you closer to Him, maybe you're not meant to erase them, just not worship them. And if you're still feeling stuck, let this du'a leave your lips like a quiet whisper through your wounds. Ya Allah, if this person is written for me, protect that path and prepare us both. And if not, Protect me from what I want and return me to what I need with peace. If these words touch something inside you, don't scroll away in silence. Share this du'a for yourself or for someone else still healing. And if this helped you breathe again, like this video and subscribe. Because this isn't just content. It's a journey back to Allah through the hardest emotions. Together. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.